Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines.
Bloody Sunday families vow to fight on after the acquittal of Soldier F.
Next step, start the prosecution of perjury.
The idea of going after individual soldiers, I think, is flawed for many reasons, but also I don't think it will be successful.
The stark reality of Stormont's finances is laid bare, with the executive departments facing budget pressures of nearly £800 million.
And paedophile former Sinn Féin press officer Michael McMongle is back behind bars after breaching the conditions of his release from prison for child abuse offences.
Also tonight, they might be living on a prayer, but Bon Jovi could hit Belfast after conquering Croke Park.
Let's make this deal. Let me get my feet wet back, get back in good health, and come up in 27 if we go back on the road and try to circle Belfast.
And after a rather unsettled day, we have plenty of wet and windy weather coming our way for the weekend. I'll have all of the details later with the forecast.
The brother of a teenager shot dead on Bloody Sunday has reiterated calls for the Public Prosecution Service to consider prosecuting soldiers for perjury. John Kelly says families will continue to fight for justice despite the acquittal of Soldier F on charges connected to the shootings in January 1972.
But a former Minister for Veterans says the prosecution of soldiers in legacy cases should now come to an end. Here's our Northwest correspondent, Gareth Wilkinson.
And that's the image here. That was really the symbol of Bloody Sunday.
Today in the Bogside, Bloody Sunday was explained to visitors. Events that unfolded on these streets refused to pass into history.
The 7.62 bullet, you can see the hole it made. You can imagine the damage it did on human beings in here.
A story that has a new chapter, the acquittal of Soldier F.
Is it with a very heavy heart this morning that you're telling visitors, explaining visitors the background to the court case and the outcome?
It does, it is disappointing, but look, it's the Bloody Sunday families. They're a credit to the city, the dignity that they've shown.
Families who had journeyed so long for justice, but returned to Derry with so little. 13 were shot dead when members of the Parachute Regiment opened fire on people who had marched for civil rights. Yet Soldier F was the only paratrooper ever charged, found not guilty of killing 2 people and attempting to murder 5 others.
In his judgment, Judge Patrick Lynch found that Soldier F was one of a group of paratroopers from the anti-tank platoon who had travelled through this alley on Bloody Sunday and entered into Glenfadda Park. This is where civilians had gathered, trying to take shelter from the violence that was unfolding. They were at that end of the square. Judge Lynch found that the soldiers had fired at these unarmed civilians as they tried to run away in panic. They killed and wounded, but in the end there simply wasn't enough evidence to convict Soldier F, and today the people of the Bogside are coming to terms with that ruling.
My own brother was shot dead. Well, that car sits about maybe 40 metres from us.
John Kelly has been one of the most prominent campaigners for justice.
We had a massive victory here. We brought this nearly 54 years later, the fact we did get a paratrooper into the dock.
Judge Lynch said soldiers may have perjured themselves in statements made about the shootings, an avenue for possible prosecutions families want explored.
This is not about vengeance, it's about what we're entitled to. It's what my brother's entitled to. It's like everyone who lost their lives that day, the innocent people of Bloody Sunday, they're entitled to truth and justice.
Last year, the Public Prosecution Service decided not to prosecute 16 soldiers for perjury. Today, it was confirmed that decision is now under review. But veteran supporters say they'll continue to campaign to keep former soldiers out of the dock in legacy cases.
The idea of going after individual soldiers, I think, is flawed. For many reasons, but also I don't think it will be successful.
Bloody Sunday has scarred this place. Wounds haven't healed.
It's not a great subject. That's what happened. This is where you are today,
The gunshots fired continue to echo through the decades. Gareth Wilkinson, UTV Live, Derry.
The Finance Minister, John O'Dowd, has told executive colleagues Stormont departments face potential budget pressures of £785 million.
UTV has seen a finance paper given to ministers at last week's executive meeting, which warns them that next month's autumn budget may bring further cuts for departments. Our political correspondent, Vicky Hawthorne, has more on this. Vicky, the Finance Minister paints a grim picture. Where are the main problems?
Yes, this is a paper that we've seen that, as you say, John O'Dowd presented to ministers at an executive meeting last week. And after that meeting, we were told that pots of money had been found to go towards public sector pay awards. But the paper presents a more complicated picture. John O'Dowd sets out in this paper how health, education and justice are all overcommitted to a tune of £665 million. They don't have enough money to cover the costs of their departments at this stage. He also confirms that Treasury is refusing to help the executive cover the potential costs of the PSNI data breach at £119 million. So all in all, there's pressures of almost £800 million. He warns repeatedly that ministers, he warns them in this paper that they should be living within the budgets that they agreed this year. Now, as I say, we were told after that meeting by the First and Deputy First Minister that, for example, £100 million had been found by the executive to go towards the health workers' pay awards this year. But look, we know that's still not resolved. Today, the RCN is indicating that it is increasingly frustrated with the offer that's been put on the table. NIPSA have said they are going to continue towards balloting members. This is not resolved, and the Health Minister, we know, said only a number of weeks ago that he would expect nurses to potentially be on the picket lines come the middle of next month.
And of course, there's a budget coming next month. What's the Finance Minister expecting from that?
Well, he sets out in this paper that, yes, he wants to wait to see what Rachel Reeves does on the 26th of November. So he's rearranging his kind of financial planning around that. So it makes clear that these pots of money for pay awards are potentially coming in December rather than him having the money right now. But he also warns that if there's not enough money that comes out of that autumn budget from Rachel Reeves, or if Rachel Reeves makes cuts herself, then those will be passed on to Stormont departments. And that is a situation that the ministers are not going to welcome at all.
Vicky Hawthorne, thank you very much.
The financial reality is hitting classrooms. Teaching unions say school leaders are being asked to do the impossible after they were told to restrict the appointment of new teachers and any substitutes to help save money.
School principals say they feel demoralised and fear they will be forced to send children home if subs can't be used to cover sickness. Eden Wilson has this report.
But very optimistic that the UK will...
Just last week, the executive had good news for teachers.
We had the similar conversation around education, and we've been able to allocate a further £37 million for our teachers, again for the purposes of teachers' pay.
Today, the same teachers were reminded of how tight their school budget is. In a letter from the Education Authority's Chief Executive, Richard Pengelly said the EA is currently reporting a funding gap of £300 million. It is critical, he said, that school leaders seek to take any and all actions possible to reduce expenditure. Those actions include restricting any new appointments, including the use of substitute teachers, something unions say just isn't practical.
Schools are being asked to do something which is, frankly, impossible. There are no luxuries left in schools. There are no places left for money to be found. School leaders and the teaching profession as a whole have taken every penny out of schools to just maintain the basic services. If anything more is going to be cut from schools, they will have direct, tangible impacts on the services that schools can provide for children.
So what does a principal do? What does a school do? Say someone's sick that day, don't hire a sub, what happens then?
The principals will have to hire a sub. Simply there will be no choice. There are regulations around class sizes, and there are also regulations around when a teacher can cover. Principals will have to hire a supply teacher, otherwise the alternative, unfortunately, will be sending children home.
Empty classrooms simply because there isn't money to pay for cover. This is one problem teachers can't solve. Only Stormont ministers hold the power and the purse strings.
School leaders feel completely demoralised. The teaching profession as a whole is demoralised. Everybody knows that the Education Authority themselves don't have enough money. Nowhere has enough money in education. And actually that is not the responsibility of the people who are trying to deliver education. That is directly the responsibility of politicians in Stormont.
In his letter, Richard Pengelly said he regretted having to make this request. The financial challenges schools are facing aren't going away. Difficult decisions will continue to be made, saving money, but at what cost to children's educations? Eden Wilson, UTV Live.
And we asked the Department of Education for a response, and we're waiting to hear back from them.
The paedophile former Sinn Féin press officer Michael McMongle has been returned to prison for breaching the terms of his release.
The 44-year-old who was jailed for child abuse offences last year was rearrested after a court hearing earlier this week. Michael McMongle was sentenced to 18 months in prison last November for a string of sex abuse offences. He admitted 14 charges between June 2020 and August 2021. Half of his sentence was to be spent behind bars, the other half on licence. In August, after serving 9 months in prison, the 44-year-old was released. However, earlier this week, he was at Coleraine Magistrates Court for breaching his sexual offences prevention order by accessing the internet without the approval of his designated risk manager. At that stage, the judge imposed a 2-month jail sentence, suspended for 12 months, with the court being told the probation service was aware and were drawing up the paperwork to recall McMongle to prison. Within 24 hours, the parole commissioners had taken the decision to revoke the licence, with the paedophile press officer returned to jail. He now faces spending the rest of his original sentence behind bars.
In a time of rising concern about racism and social division, a number of schools in Northern Ireland are being celebrated for doing the opposite, building classrooms where every child belongs.
Yes, 21 schools across Mid-Ulster, Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon have been recognised in the School of Sanctuary Awards, a scheme led by the Education Authority. We sent our reporter Katie Andrews along.
Colour, rhythm and celebration, a vibrant display of culture brought to life through dance. This a chance to celebrate diversity and make every pupil feel seen, heard and valued. Children in this room recognised for their commitment to creating welcoming environments for newcomer pupils.
We want all of our pupils to feel welcome, happy and safe in our school.
If they need help, then we help them speak in their language, we get paired up.
Also have dual language books, so they could read it first in their language and then they could read it in English.
One of the 21 schools here is St Patrick's Primary School in Dungannon. 90% of their pupils are newcomer children.
Our school has become a sanctuary for these children. When they come, we have our staff, we employ our staff from the communities as well. So when our children and families come to our school, they see somebody who looks like them, those people have the same language, the same culture. So it's about making sure that the children come in, they feel valued, they feel that they're welcomed into the school.
The impact that it has had on our school has been amazing. Our parents and our community are just wonderful, and they've really embraced the whole School of Sanctuary is about.
As communities confront a rise in racist incidents, the School of Sanctuary scheme has played a key role in helping children feel safe.
Some children who have expressed fear, especially in Belfast, that they have expressed fear, they don't know exactly how that is going to escalate. But the schools continue to reassure them, whenever you're in school, you are safe here. When you come to school, this is a safe place for you.
We have partner schools of sanctuary all over the UK and in the Republic of Ireland, so we're part of a wider movement, but the Schools of Sanctuary is a very special programme because it's the children and young people who generate the activity.
As these pupils take the spotlight, so too does a message that rings far beyond the school gates, that inclusion isn't just taught, it's lived. Katie Andrews, UTV Live.
Voters in the Republic of Ireland are going to the polls today to elect a new president. The two candidates are independent Catherine Connolly and Fine Gael's Heather Humphreys. Polls close at 10 o'clock tonight. The counting begins tomorrow morning with a declaration expected later at Dublin Castle.
The poppy appeal has been launched in Northern Ireland with the symbolic purchase of the first poppy by the Lord Lieutenant of Armagh at the Palace Stables. The theme for this year is Rebuilding Lives.
There are thousands of ex-servicemen across the UK, but also here in Northern Ireland, they have served, they have retired, and they're now struggling. And we use the money from the Poppy Appeal to help them.
Now get ready to enjoy a vibrant mix of African and Irish music. We caught up with two special musicians who will be performing at a Black History Summit in Londonderry tonight.
Maasai musician and storyteller Nelson Nocek and Irish singing country star Richie Remo will be hosting a musical collaboration for a powerful cross-cultural experience. Sarah O'Kane has this report.
Very important because it brings international integration, whereby communities come together, like the Maasai, meeting the Irish people, and they share a lot. And music crosses borders from Africa to Europe, Ireland, and it brings a very nice complexity of unity and love.
Bringing cultures together through music and celebrating what we have in common. Tonight, a special summit in Londonderry will be held as parts of Black History Month. The gig has been organised by the North West Migrants Forum.
Black history is Irish history, it is British history, and it's shared history. And it's so important for everyone to really reflect on why Black people come to this country, for example, but most importantly, why the heritage that we bring here is so important to celebrate and to feel that we have that shared heritage within our communities here.
Maasai musician and storyteller Nelson Nocek from Kenya and country star Richie Remo have been collabing together and trying out their different styles.
Great with the culture and also bringing the music, fusing it together, and it gives a different style and also brings the traditions together. He's enjoyed taking my music, and I've been jumping up and down with one of his sticks as well over there. So I mean, it's great the experience of all that stuff together.
This country music and Maasai music, there's a bit difference, but the message is same. The message is love. The message is the cultures. Some messages are the history of the people and their cultures and the ways of life.
Sarah O'Kane, UTV Live.
It's 17 minutes past 6. Time now to look at tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Geraint Vincent.
Coming up, the asylum seeker found guilty of murder. Rhiannon White worked at the hotel where her killer was being housed. Deng Marjek had arrived in a small boat just months earlier. Plaid Cymru win the Caerphilly by-election, humbling Labour, who lost there for the first time in 100 years. And John Bon Jovi on getting back out on tour after vocal surgery. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now it's time for sport.
Yes, here's Ruth.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening from the Ballymena Showgrounds, where Northern Ireland's women are back in action tonight. It's the first of their promotional playoff in the Nations League. They are without captain Simone McGill, but Sarah McFadden makes her return after having her second child. I've been speaking to manager Tanya Oxtoby about what it would mean for this group to get into League A of the Nations League.
Yeah, it's where you want to be, because essentially the games obviously are against opposition that obviously have all been to, mostly been to major tournaments, and that's where we want to be. So, but one step at a time. I think, like I said, we'll have a better understanding as a group where we're at, after these two games. But yeah, for us, obviously that's the main aim, to be competing at that level, sort of in every window.
We know Iceland are a tough opponent, and the jump up the League A is incredible. So we're just focusing on us this week. We've obviously got a really young squad, a couple of injuries picked up, and obviously we haven't got Simone in with us, but it's good to have her in around the group and show her leadership as well. So yeah, we're just focusing on us this week.
In snooker, it's the dream quarter-final for Mark Allen and Jordan Brown. The Antrim club mates will meet in the quarter-finals of this year's championship at the Waterfront Hall.
This is what it meant to Jordan Brown to reach the quarter-finals of the NI Open. Mark Allen watched him defeat former champion Sean Murphy last night and was there to congratulate him afterwards. Now the two Antrim club mates will meet in tonight's quarter-finals.
I'm absolutely buzzing. The win like that against Sean in front of my home
turf and in front of that crowd there tonight. It's just what you play snooker for, and yeah, it's just an unbelievable feeling. And what an occasion it'll be tomorrow night playing one of my best mates. Listen, it'll be some atmosphere. Off camera there, obviously Mark came in and he's absolutely buzzing for me. Yeah, it's going to be a momentous occasion. I don't think it'll be as awkward as the previous time we played in the UK Championships, and it was just horrible. You know, it was. I think both of us weren't really talking. It was very awkward. It was a very surreal feeling, that, but. You know, I always said if we played each other again, it'll be a little bit better. But yeah, what better atmosphere than in the waterfront, you know, playing in front of family and friends, and I'm sure it'll be a packed crowd in there tomorrow night.
And when you play and you practice with Mark so much in the club,
yeah.
Is that an advantage because you know how he ticks and you know how he operates?
Yeah, and he knows how to operate as well. You know, I think nearly 25 years we've been in the same club, seeing each other every day. Beating each other's heads off. It's yeah, we're just well used to it by now, and yeah, we just both get behind each other. Yeah, so we're playing each other tomorrow night, but I'm sure if I was to lose tomorrow night, I'll be wishing them all the best, and I'll be sitting in the front row, cheering them on, and I'm sure it'll be the same the other way around.
It'd be nerve-wracking as well. Like I wouldn't enjoy it because he is one of my best mates, but at the same time, you have to think of the bigger picture. It would be huge for Northern Ireland snooker. The support here from people just both north and south of the border has been, you know, amazing. And the messages of support that I get as well, you know, from other sort of sporting people in the country whenever this event's on, is amazing for me as well. Just yeah, hopefully I can just keep flying the flag proudly like I have been.
In rugby, it's 15 points from 15 for Ulster in the ERC so far this season. They're hoping to make it 2 wins from 2 in South Africa as they take on the Lions tomorrow.
When we review pretty hard. Like there's always room for improvement, and like we do a lot of mistakes. I feel like our desire's gotten a lot better, just like working for your teammates and stuff. We've still a lot to improve on, and we know we can, like in training and stuff, we're doing it. So.
IBF World Welterweight Champion Lewis Crocker says he can't wait to get back inside the ring in 2026. Talks are ongoing for his first defence, which is likely to be early next year.
I was over last week speaking with Frank Smith in Matchroom headquarters in London, and they were saying, like, they mentioned Conor Benn. I think that's the fight that everyone wants to see. Like, so I think it just depends how he gets through this next one before we're going to even like pursue that sort of. But you know, that's the name that we want. But then, you know, Manny Pacquiao's in the works now. You know, it was just in talks, but who would have thought that Lewis Crocker would ever be in the same conversation as Manny Pacquiao? So that's there, and you know, defence in Belfast as well, potentially. So yeah, next year I would say in the first third of next year, you know, you would expect me to fight in that timeline and around one of those names.
Finally, the senior club football finals continue this weekend in Tyrone, Monaghan and Armagh. That's your sport from the Ballymena Showgrounds, where Northern Ireland look to take a lead into next week's game in Iceland in that promotion playoff in the Nations League. Bye for now.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Now, with more than 130 million albums sold worldwide and thousands of concerts performed in more than 50 countries, Bon Jovi are true rock and roll legends.
That's right, and now the band is making a much anticipated return to touring, and the good news is they will be hitting Ireland. Our reporter Nathan Hanna caught up with the legend himself, John Bon Jovi, in Dublin.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. You all got that. Now. Thank you very much. Peace out. Good night.
Rock royalty impressing with his skills at Croke Park. But next summer is when the real show begins. It's my life. 20 years on from their last gig at Croke Park, Bon Jovi are coming back next August. And Ireland holds a special place in John Bon Jovi's heart, having also rocked Sliane back in 2013.
There's a feeling that I get when I come here. Maybe it's because I was smart enough to marry an Irish woman, but it's just our history takes us back to every venue there is here in Dublin. So I was very excited that this was the first place we land, to be the first time. It makes me want to cry. 3.5 years since I've been on a stage.
And this return to the stage is set to be one to remember.
And listen, you said, of course, you've had a tough few years health-wise, of course, the vocal cord surgery and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell us, how are you feeling? Are you
Good,
going to be
great,
back to your best?
better. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to be better than I've been in 20 years. I think I'm going to be, I know I am. Every day I wake up and I can hit the high notes. I mean, I haven't changed the keys of the songs. So it's, at 63 years old, that's a high C is a high C. You know, it's a bit, but thank God the surgery was a success. Thank you.
Now, it's been even longer since you were in Belfast for gigs back in King's Hall in the early 90s. Tell us, are there going to be any extra gigs coming in Belfast anytime soon?
Big apology to the fans of Northern Ireland because I really need to get back. Let's make this deal. Let me get my feet wet back, get back in good health, and come up in 27 if we go back on the road and you know, try to circle at Belfast.
Well, hopefully you stick to that,
nice.
and the Jovi fans aren't going to be chasing me now.
Let's have Dennis Desmond and talk to him about it. If I'm coming back in 27, that we get up to Belfast.
With that answer, it sounds like we're halfway there for any potential Belfast gigs. Nathan Hanna, UTV Live.
Yes, the one and only Jon Bon Jovi, and we'll have an extended interview with the star on UTV Live next Friday. And it's not just our Nathan who's had the pleasure of meeting him. Jordan, you've got to meet him as well.
Yes, 2012, at Slane Castle, he flew in on a helicopter and we got to have a bit of a chat with him ahead of his concert there at Slane Castle in 2013.
So impressed.
Yes, and speaking of which, Pammy is here with all the flavour of this evening's UTV Live.
It's on UTV Live tonight at 7. I'll be talking to politician and author Peter Hain about his latest thriller, Fallout. Violinist Vladimir Jablikov will be telling me about his amazing career and his upcoming tour around Northern Ireland, and we'll have music from him as well. And we've been on the hunt for the perfect Halloween pumpkin in County Down. That's UTV Live tonight at 7, right after the national weather and on ITVX.
Now, don't forget that the clocks go back by an hour this Sunday.
Yes, darker nights are on the way. Now let's see what the weather has in store. Here's Louise.
It's time to take a rain check. There's no place like home. UTV Weather. Sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Hello there, good evening. It was a cool and crisp start this morning. We held on to quite a lot of sunshine into the afternoon. A number of showers though breaking out, 1 or 2 heavy bursts. Over the next couple of days it will remain fairly cool and changeable. Rain never too far away over the weekend, and it will remain fairly windy, and those winds coming from a northerly direction will make it feel very cool and chilly. If you factor in that wind chill, temperatures slightly lower than we expect. Plenty of rain as we move through Saturday and into Sunday. Quite a wet and miserable day on Sunday. Further showers tonight becoming more frequent in the overnight period, merging to longer spells of rain for a time. We will hold on to those brisk blustery winds. Where we have any clearing skies, we could see a touch of grass frost forming in the coldest rural spots, temperatures falling to lows of 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow then, it is a cool and chilly start. Brisk blustery winds continuing from the northwest. Further showers pushing through. Some bright and sunny spells into the afternoon, but the showers increasing in frequency. Later in the day, 1 or 2 heavy bursts and highs of 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. Across the rest of Ireland, it is a very similar story. Plenty of bright and sunny spells, variable amounts of cloud, but scattered showers never too far away, becoming quite blustery in those brisk winds. Temperatures reaching highs of 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead then towards the weekend, we do have plenty of rain on Sunday, but before the wet weather arrives, don't forget that the clocks go back, so you get an extra hour in bed. Quite an unsettled day, brisk blustery winds. Unsettled again into Monday, further outbreaks of rain at times on Tuesday, but the wind switch direction by the middle part of next week, so it will slowly start to feel slightly milder. Bye-bye.
UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Well, that's you up to date this Friday, the 24th of October. Tori Watson will be back with the late news at 10:30.
The ITV News continues with Geraint Vincent from the entire UTV team. Have a lovely weekend and have a lovely evening and a great weekend.
Bye-bye.